Open Arms helps sustain the health of the community.
For people that are sick, yeah, you get meals. It's great.
If I didn't have Open Arms, I wouldn't be eating as healthy. I know that.
They have provided me so much help in terms of nutrition and getting healthy. I just can never pay it back.
What can I say? It's great. Open Arms have been a big benefactor in my life.
When you or someone you love is going through battling cancer, it's a life and death struggle. And someone being there to meet a practical basic need means the world to you.
The man who started Open Arms was Bill Rowe. He was a caseworker helping people with AIDS. In fact, he was a caseworker for my partner who died. He realized that one of the best things he could do to help people maintain their strength was see that they got good, nutritious food. At the beginning, it was nothing but Bill cooking food in his kitchen and then delivering it in his own truck.
I remember some of those days where there would be 3 of us delivering 90 meals or 2 of us delivering 90 meals. I mean, you wouldn't believe the kitchens that we operated out of.
It was totally a volunteer activity. People would pay for the food out of their own pockets.
When I first started with Open Arms, we only served clients that were affected by HIV, and not their parents, not their families, just the individuals. And we had 50 clients.
In the early days, we were in churches. It was such a big step forward to buy the building on Franklin.
I mean, that was very exciting when that place opened because it was so much bigger than the church basement.
Now we actually had a building with air vents, stoves that worked.
It had room for all of us and it had room for the cooks, but we kept growing and things kept getting, you know, tighter and tighter.
Every square inch of space was utilized in that old building.
In the winter, we would all huddle around space heaters next to the washer and dryer.
Once in a while, there'd be some water coming in down there.
And very quickly, of course, we were serving not 50 clients a day, but hundreds of clients a day. And we realized that the old space just wasn't going to work.
We were approaching serving 400 clients, and everybody was talking about, we cannot get any bigger. We do not have capacity. We're going to have to start turning people away.
We'd get calls from time to time from families or from social workers asking if we'd be willing to deliver meals to people with other diseases.
If they weren't HIV/AIDS, then we had to say no. And I can specifically remember Kevin saying to us, I don't want to say no anymore.
One more person calls and asks, can you serve me a meal? I'm going through chemo, or I've got MS, or whatever. You know, it's hard. It's hard to say no to these folks that you know need the services.
Once you're sick and you can't get around very well, then you realize how much energy it takes to make food, to get food, and to buy it. And it's overwhelming, so you just don't eat, or you eat poorly.
I felt this was an opportunity for us to serve the wider community. Breast cancer, MS, Lou Gehrig's disease.
At the end of the day, it's about helping more people. So it didn't seem risky. It seemed right.
We didn't know exactly what the need would be in the community, but we knew it was much larger than we could handle in our own building. That's when we really decided to do a capital campaign. It was nerve-wracking announcing an $8 million campaign when we had a budget of maybe a little over $1 million at the time.
I think we had a lot of experts in this field tell us that we did not have the capacity to raise this kind of money. We weren't big enough, we didn't have enough traction in the community. Just tell us that we can't do something and we'll show you how it can be done. There's a lot of that spirit at Open Arms.
We were surprised, like a lot of other people were, when the recession hit right after we started this capital campaign. We saw other organizations having difficulty raising money, but we didn't let that get in our way, and we didn't think it was going to stop us.
Early on, we had some wonderful people who stepped up and made some initial gifts.
This was asking a lot, and people really stepped forward and did it.
Open Arms was the little engine that could. One day, Sue Everson, longtime driver, came in with her daughter Elena, who we've known since Elena was born, and Elena was not even 4 years old. Sue said, "Elena's got something to give you," and she gave us her bank with $2 in it. $2 from, a 3.5-year-old girl is someone else's $500,000. All those gifts is what got us here.
This site where Open Arms is right now is a site of a bar that was a lot of trouble.
We were really struggling to find a piece of property. And the mayor said, well, the old Commodore bar that burned down is just down the street from our old location. Why don't you check that out?
I remember after the conversation with Kevin and John where I suggested this place, driving away thinking, nah, that can't really happen. I don't want to get my hopes up too much.
I remember the meeting with the real estate man who said to John and me, he said, "You really want to buy this parcel of land?" And we said, "It's absolutely perfect."
Our job as designers was to design a building that embodied the mission of the organization. And because the kitchen is at the center of Open Arms, the kitchen conceptually and functionally became at the center of the building.
Early in the process, as I worked with the Open Arms team, it was clear that certain themes were paramount for Open Arms, and inclusion and voice for all was one of those.
We wanted to keep the openness and the connectedness that are a part of the culture of the organization, and therefore we have a 2-story entry space with a lot of glass.
So that when you drove by on Bloomington Avenue, you could see inside the windows and wonder what was going on, and maybe hope that maybe you could be a part of it.
From the moment you walk in, it just feels welcoming.
The building is beautiful, and its design is so tailored, so well tailored to the needs of Open Arms. The groundbreaking for this project was a very moving moment and celebration. Everyone was crying. So to this day, it is the only project I've worked on where you've had that sort of emotion.
It really thrilled me to realize how far Open Arms had come from being basically a penniless organization where people had to buy the food on their own, where we now had enough people who really loved the organization that we could afford to have this absolutely fabulous new building.
Bringing food to somebody is an act of love. Making food in the kitchen is an act of love. And I watch 700 volunteers a week come in here and make food for people they don't know. It's just a magical place to be.
Open Arms has helped me so much with just having a peace of mind.
It's really positively impacted me that, I don't have to have, worry about fatigue and the stress of having to cook a meal at night.
It's a blessing from God. I've been thanking him so long. I hope I can continue to thank him a little bit longer.
I often come in here and literally think about all the people that were with us early on that aren't with us anymore. I think this is a great tribute to all those people, to all the effort that we put in.
This site where Open Arms is right now, I hope a generation from now will be thought of as almost hallowed ground.
We really wanted this to be a destination not only for the volunteers, but for the community. Kevin was very good about reminding everyone, including ourselves on a lot of the days, that this was our building, that this was the community's building.
In the old building, we were only able to serve 300 people a week. This week we served 860 people. And we're really only at 50% capacity in this building, so we have this amazing capacity to grow.
As I look to the future, my dream is for Open Arms to have an even bigger impact on the community. I would hope that its community grows.
The one thing that really strikes me is that the building is really just this platform for this remarkable mission, and that eclipses the building. You know, what happens here makes the building special.